Hey guys, it's Carly here for Ellen Hudson, and today I wanted to share with you my favorite way to make a shaker card. Shaker cards are my favorite to make. When I look at a die, I just think, could this be a shaker window? And the answer is almost always absolutely yes. So I usually like to start by die cutting my shaker window first. So I've got my folded card here, but then I've also got my panel, which is going to be my shaker window. And I'm going to use the Essentials by Ellen Hey You die. So after die cutting, I save all the die cut pieces, save the panel, set it aside for a minute, and then I'm going to grab my folded card and I'm going to reinforce it with another piece of cardstock on front, just because I'm going to be adding wet medium to the top of that, and I want everything to stay really nice and flat. And I also cut my cards down a little bit sometimes to make it easier to handle all those extra layers and still fit in an envelope. So this card is actually 4 by 5 1/4 instead of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So just a little bit smaller to make sure I have room to stick in an envelope after I've got the reinforced front, the shaker window, the foam tape, all that good stuff. So next I'm going to grab some low tack tape and make a border around my card front. Now the point of this border is to make a clean space to put foam tape later. So it needs to be as big as possible for foam tape, but also has to be small enough to not show through the shaker window. And then I'm going to move on to adding some ink blending. Now that was the reason that I die cut my shaker window already, so that I can use it as a guide and so I can see where the color is hitting, where I need more color, where I want to blend the two. And then because I'm going to add some glitter on top in a minute, I don't need the ink blending to be perfect, but there's something so therapeutic about ink blending, I could just do it for ages. After the ink blending is finished, I've got this soft Distress Oxide rainbow look that I love, and I'm going to add some glitter on top. So if you have glitter paste, this is a great time to use it. If you don't, this is a great time to make it. So grab some glossy accents and a container you either don't mind cleaning or don't mind throwing away. I'm actually just using a foil cupcake liner because it was handy. I wouldn't necessarily say this is the greatest thing to mix in, but it totally worked in a pinch. I put my glossy accents in and then I added some fine glitter, and I'm just gonna mix it up until I get the consistency that I'm looking for. Since we're spreading this glitter on the card front, the consistency doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it to be kind of paste-like so that it's not just going to run off the edges. So especially if you're using a different kind of clear glue instead of glossy accents, you want to just make sure it's thick enough to spread. And then you want to use an offset palette knife or some kind of easy tool to just spread it out. Now the great thing is that since this is going to be the background of the shaker window, you also don't have to spread it perfectly. It doesn't have to be perfectly even. You just want to cover everything. I recommend cleaning your tools right away. And then I also think it's fun while that glitter paste is wet to add a little bit more sparkle. So I've got some chunky glitter that I'm just sprinkling on. Then I'm gonna take that tape off so that later when the glitter is dry, it doesn't rip anything when I try to take the tape off. It's much easier to take the tape off when everything is wet. But I also still want this to dry really flat. So I'm gonna grab some clean tape and tape it down to my surface just to give it a little extra help drying flat. And while that's drying, I can finish my shaker window. So I've got a piece of acetate with strong double-sided tape around the edge. I'm going to take off the liner paper, but then before I stick it to the back of that die cut panel, I'm going to put a little glue pen around the edges of each letter just to make sure that everything sticks down really, really nicely. So then I'm going to add the letter middles back onto the front of that shaker window panel. So I'm adding a little bit of adhesive to the middle. The letters actually stayed together, so that's kind of makes it extra easy. And I'm sticking the O and the middle back onto the front of that panel. And then I can just carefully pull up the O because I don't need it anymore, and that leaves the middle in place. The middles of the B fell out, but it works just as well to put the letter in first, put adhesive on the middles, and pop them back in. It's just the perfect, easy guide to putting your letter middles in. So once my shaker window front is all done, I'm going to flip over that panel and make my shaker container with some foam tape. I don't need it to be very thick. I'm just putting some pretty flat sequins in it. So I'm going to use one layer of foam tape just around the edges. I'm not worried about supporting the letter middle since it is going to be so flat. I am going to use a powder tool along the tape to keep the sequins from sticking. And then I'm going to put in my pretty soapy bubble sequins. Then I'm going to remove the liner paper from that foam tape and seal this whole thing with another piece of acetate. This has been a game changer for me with shaker cards. No more trying to have to get this onto my folded card without spilling. I just seal it up and it's ready to go when I'm ready to adhere it to my card. To add that shaker to my card, I just used a little bit more double-sided tape, and there you have it. I love how it turns out. Now, one more quick idea for you in case you're not interested in mixing up glitter paste. You can grab some glossy accents, put it over your ink blended background, and just smooth it out with any kind of straight edge tool, even like a gift card. Then clean your tool right away and add some chunky glitter. You can just sprinkle it on where that glossy accents is wet, and then you've got a little bit of a glittered background without the extra work of mixing your own glitter paste. Here you can see how it turned out as the final card. I used the Essentials by Ellen Pyramid Box Party Hat add-on, and I think it's so cute. You can see more about this card, the first card, and even one more card on the Ellen Hudson blog today. I'll put a link in the video description. And thanks so much for stopping by, guys. Thanks for watching with me. I hope you're inspired to craft today, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Happy crafting!